committee for review. Okay, time is 6:30. We'll call the meeting to order. We'll do roll call. Alderwoman Erickson,
Here.
Alderwoman Ingman,
Here.
Alderman Robinson,
Here.
Alderman Danko, absent, and Alderman Kreinbrink, I'm here. Okay, we'll do a review of the semi-monthly bills. They were sent out. Give you a couple minutes to look at them again, and if anybody has any comments, concerns, feel free to speak at any time.
I have a few questions. Answer them or not. When I was looking at the AT&T Mobility, the number of phones, and I counted 27 total, and I started figuring it out. But one, I'm curious if there's phones that are there that aren't being used, but we're paying for. And then secondly, I'm just curious why there's 4 different pricings on the phones.
I went through this when I first got on this, asking the same thing, and apparently that the 4 that have different, they have different plans. That's all I was told, is there's different plans for,
I thought this was that almost free thing, you know, where when the world is ending, that these
Right.
phones still work type thing.
Yeah, so I do remember though that there were different price points. So if you look at the squads are just going to be data. So that's what the air cards are, I believe I'm correct. So the squad 4, 7, 5, 3, 1, 6, 2, and the SRO. Those are the air cards that are in the computers to give them their connectivity to the CAD. And then the other bills, there are the phones themselves. And I did have those 2 circled where there is no name next to it, just says PD. And I think those are potentially phones that are in holding that aren't being used, but
Why though?
I think, well, we have 1 vacancy, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't think, I think they're full staff right now.
Are they?
Unless somebody's left. They've got 15, I mean, they're always pushing for more, but no,
Yeah.
they're up to full staff.
Okay, well, so I think what we should do is we should probably just ask Chief if they're there, and if they're not needed, then we could probably ask that they be disconnected.
That
So
would make sense.
those other phones though, below there, like I can't speak as specifically as to why it's 4233 and then why one's 4113. But Karsta is probably right. There probably is some slight difference in if it has a hotspot, if it doesn't have a hotspot type of thing. So questions to the chief, I can ask him when he comes in is, are there any of these phones that are not in use?
And then the other question I'm gonna have is gonna be CTS of Illinois. See way to charge. When I glanced at the bills earlier, I couldn't tell if anybody was with them when they were doing their inspection of the fire extinguishers and the lights. So I'm just curious, because that's something we have talked about previously, where there needs to be somebody that is with them going through the building for those emergency lights.
Yeah, so that's the 8786?
Right, which is basically just a recharge of a fire extinguisher.
Yeah,
But if you look a few pages back into the bills, on the invoice, it's a back page of one of the pages. Talks about them not knowing what the circuits are in the breaker box or something like that for the emergency lights. And so they couldn't test the system other than the push test button or something. But then there was also a notation as far as some either lights being out or batteries that need to be replaced in something. But I don't understand what the codes are. And again, I just want to make sure we had somebody from city staff that was with walking around for this.
Yeah, it says, is a return trip needed? Yes, they need a 1-647-612, 1.2 volt NiCad, and an exit sign. Okay.
Next would be the G-Force labels and printing for the banners. I looked at that bill, I see that we apparently got 4 banners, and it might have something to do with a grant or something like that.
No, you have the thing on that.
Yeah, hold on, let me pull it up. I asked Jeff about those. Get back into my email. Give me a
And has anybody seen those banners yet?
Oh, sorry.
I have
Yeah,
not.
there is one, I believe it's across from Johnson's Floral. It's
Yep.
a black
Yep.
banner.
Anybody impressed by it?
I haven't seen it.
Look real hard to be able, you can see it
Yeah,
and
I
read it.
looked today, and if it's fabric, it's gonna fade.
And it's not very bold. And the print is pretty small. It could have been bigger for that banner. So, but at $200 a piece, if that's the way I saw it.
This is what the response was, because I said G-Force Printing, what were the banners for? As part of a grant that we received from DeKalb County Community Foundation, we had included the purchase of banners for downtown. They are to be placed on the light post in the downtown. I know one is installed on Main Street across from Johnson's Floral. So I'd assume with a grant, then we get reimbursed?
Well, I'm sure they're paying for it, but
Yeah.
I don't know how many we're getting or if that's the total amount. I would assume that's,
There's 4 on the bill.
and I get that, but that's what I'm saying. If you look at it, $200 for each banner.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it is pricey to make those. And that's the one thing too, is I know that the Goulds aren't going to make something without it being approved and checked, to make sure that's what we want. So that's the downside to a proof, is that from the ground and on a computer screen, it looks great, but when you put it up at the height that it needs to be at, it probably should have maybe had a test
And again,
piece made up there.
that's just my opinion. Anybody else can look at it, but
Yeah.
it's,
My understanding is that was the only order for that, right? That's what you know, okay. So we can check with Jeff.
anybody else have questions about anything? Don't want to be the Lone Ranger.
I did about the crew painting, for the, what is it called, the 207 Railroad. There's not a third quote. Apparently, there was a third quote, I guess, but it was in an email. But we don't know what it was. They're not here, like to show us what they were. So we're asking for the 2 additional quotes to be attached and to be submitted to the Finance Committee for review. We got to start doing the purchasing policy and keeping to it.
So we want all the quotes?
So essentially what Karst is saying is that we received an invoice for 24/8, and there's no support documentation as to why we went with LaCure and for the painting. I mean, they do great work. However, our purchasing policy states that we're going to get 3 quotes, and one could be an email.
Yeah.
One
We
could
just need
be
to see it,
a
though.
fax, it could
Right.
be written on a napkin,
Well, it
as
sounds like,
long as we have it.
it sounds like the email I read or whatever from Nick, or whatever the form is from Nick, it sounds like Nick said there were 2 good quotes. So I don't know if that means the third one wasn't accurate or wasn't a valid quote. maybe they didn't.
Apparently, the third one didn't provide a scope of work,
Okay.
you know, but I mean,
Yeah.
even with that, just having the numerics involved with it, because if the scope, if it came in at $12,000, then we should have been picking up the phone and saying, hey,
Right.
you're missing some information here, is this number correct, you know?
And I don't know, is this something they've already done, the work?
Yeah,
Yeah.
They've already painted it?
yep.
Okay.
mhm.
So it's all done, it's just a matter of we just want the paperwork to go along with it?
Yeah, exactly, just to support it so that we know that all the ducks are in a row and we don't have any issues,
I
you know?
mean, there was only a difference of $200 between the two bids, and they're both local, so.
Mhm.
Right. Just to have them, I mean, with our
Yeah.
purchasing policy, just put them in there, 3 of them. If there's 3, even if they're on faxes, if they're, whatever they're on. Put them together so we
Yep.
have it.
Right on.
You gotta ask them, otherwise it's gonna be $92 lunches, you know? Just kidding, Fred.
No, I appreciate when you bring stuff to light, I really do, because I mean, it's things that sometimes get overlooked, and we need to just, we need to be good stewards.
Well, my goal is I'm only gonna be here on finance till the end of the year. That's what
Oh, that's your goal?
that's what I was hoping to tell, that's what I had told the mayor was,
Oh,
I was
okay.
hoping when the newer people was gonna be ready to take over.
Jump
But like I
on
said,
board.
I'll keep coming. It's just
There you
it's
go.
tough to get here at 6:30.
I hear you.
I don't mind opening my mouth. People
Nope,
aren't gonna
that's
like it
fine,
sometimes.
that's fine. Yeah, so Karsta and I had the same thing there. Everything else looked good. I know there's a question on the Zion's Bank, that's for the public safety building.
Yep.
So it's Public Safety Center, so
That's
that's a
just the
payment
bond.
that was
That's
made.
just the
Yep.
bond, I think.
That's the bond payment. Vissering had another payment on here, so that's, we're getting closer on that one there.
How about Volt Electric? Let's talk about that one.
Yeah, so there was an email on that too, if you wanna,
Yeah, I asked Jeff the same question about the light pole that was hit back in April. I said, what were we going after the person that hit the pole or their insurance company to pay for this? We did not get 3 quotes. Is there a reason why? Volt Electric was able to get the pole. From what Nick had told me, it was an availability situation. This bill is for the purchase of the pole, and regarding the police report, the officer did not document that the pole had been struck. Nick noticed the damage when he went to investigate the fence damage. Jeff, am filing the claim, but without it being noted on the police report, it may be difficult in proving it.
Well, maybe that needs to be taken up with the police department then to make sure that it's very easy if the car is away from the pole, which it was. My understanding is that it was stuck on the railroad tracks. But again, there's a path going from point A to point B. So you've already hit our fence, and then you hit our pole, and then you hit the other one. I guarantee if it was a ComEd pole, ComEd would be getting reimbursed.
yeah, so being a retired police officer as you are, can you not amend a report after the fact within a certain amount of time frame?
They would be able to include it.
Yeah.
He could do a supplement to it.
So I would think
It-
that would, I mean, if we can kind of say, yeah, the stars align and it looks like it, maybe we should just do that, and then that would document it.
We were talking, it's almost a year ago now, but still.
Mhm.
It is, and I did file it the other day. It's just one of those that the police report didn't detail it. It didn't get noticed until Nick went out there, and then he noticed that the pole was actually damaged. So the pole was in pretty bad shape to begin with, and the cost in the bill there is just the cost of the pole. There's still a cost to install it as well.
And Volt has been performing the majority of our streetlight repairs when we can't, fix them in-house, so, I've used him for other things too, and they're fair, so.
Janelle, was there anything else on that email?
EEI and the bill for the pool on Bender. No, but I did have a question about the EEI charge for ComEd charging station. Since we were under the impression we weren't having to pay for anything with that.
Yeah, that's something that, it would be it's a good question for Kurt, because that was incurred as part of the permitting process and trying to determine where it goes and everything. So we can decide how we want to do that. But yeah, as far as a charge from ComEd, it's nothing from that. It's just
Right, I
the
just-
process of us having to be able to fulfill that or be
So-
able to issue that permit.
Okay, I just thought maybe EEI had their own engineering firm that looked at everything or something.
No, that would have just been Kurt's time to take care of that.
Okay. Any other questions for anything?
What do you have the total of the bills to? I want to make sure we got it the right. We have 400,524.72.
Yeah, there were two different numbers, weren't there?
Making sure we got the right one in there.
How's everybody doing today? We're allowed to sit
Good.
back here, right?
Yep. Okay, so 400,524.72, and then we have to add that second one in there too.
I thought they deleted, they took it off. They didn't add.
No, the second sheet, right?
No, they took off 13,000, didn't they?
But we have this whole other schedule sheet here. There's another 60,000, 60,485, and then we have another $250.
I can't bring my computer up right now.
Are there any other questions for the bills? I'll add them up here, Karsta. Okay. Can I have a motion then to accept the bills and move them forward for council approval?
I'll
I'll
make that
make-
motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Okay, I don't think we have any unfinished business. New business approval of the minutes from October 20th. Has everybody had a chance to read those and take a peek at them? Can I have a motion to accept those minutes as written?
I'll make the motion.
Janelle,
I'll second.
Karsta? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, any audience comments for the Finance Committee? No? Okay. I'm gonna add these up here real quick. I got 461, 619.81. So I think that's different than the number that was on the,
No, that's the amount that's on the agenda.
is it on the agenda that way?
Yep.
Okay.
Because there was a first one that went out and then. there
Oh, and
was
then it got
that-
amended?
And then it got amended.
Okay,
That's what the
perfect,
difference
perfect.
is. There was a televised sewer pipe that came off was $3,875. So we
Okay.
pulled that off so we could reassess it for next time.
Good. So those numbers are good as they stand. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
I will second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.